third race of the weekend in the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship here on the Snetterton 300 circuit. And after 2 race victories from 2 so far for Luke Reed in the GTP field and Ella Lloyd in the GT5s, will we add a different name to the Snetterton winners list? We'll find out over the next 20 minutes or so. Green flag lap underway already, and it's the results from that second race that give us the race 3 grid. So Luke Reed on pole, with Blake Anglis starting alongside him in the Breakall Racing number 84 car. Row 2 for Callum Davis, who was runner-up in yesterday's race, second on the road in the race earlier on today, but picked up a 5-second track limits penalty. Colin White, who's been a demon starter all weekend, will start 4th. Ruben Haig and Carl Garnett together then on row 3. Carl Garnett having a slightly underwhelming weekend by his high standards. Leona Theobald then starts 7th alongside Balsidou, making the step up from the GT5 AM category into the GTPs. Then it's Sean Fleming and Gary Wager completing the top 10. Then we miss a row, have a delayed start for the GT5 Challenge drivers, headed by Ella Lloyd, double race winner so far, as she's continuing to eat into that championship advantage for Luke Garlick. Will Rochford lines up second on the grid. He's been a ever-present threat at the front of the field this weekend. Luke Garlick, the points leader, is 3rd. Karim Sekat is 4th. And Sam Harvey, after a mysterious visit into the pit lane in the earlier race, I think after some contact with Luke Garlick, will start at the back of the field. So, the Ginetta GT Championship then, split into these 2 classes, both of which have had, well, fairly different looking championships so far, really, because I would argue that the racing in the Ginetta GT Championship has been very good, and yet dominated, really, by Luke Reed. He's not had an easy time of it as such, but he has been winning with some regularity. Got into double figures with the race earlier on today, his 10th victory in the season, and there have been a handful of other drivers who have managed to claim race wins as well. So the wins outside of Luke Reed have gone the way of 1 apiece for Carl Garnett and Colin White, 3 for Ruben Haig. Colin Garnett also claiming a victory early on in the season that came at Silverstone. No, Donington, I beg your pardon, the 3rd Donington Park race. So Luke Reed has had his hands full, but has ultimately been able to always stay on top, whereas in the GT5 Challenge we've had some really close racing as well, but Luke Garlick and Ella Lloyd really pretty inseparable on the stats. 6 wins for Luke Garlick, 7 for Ella Lloyd, 6 further podium finishes for Luke Garlick. That's what separated them, really. And coming into this race now, he is 40 points clear, but that gap was over 50 points at the start of the weekend, so it is coming down. Ella Lloyd starting now, I think, to really put together a classy mid-part of the championship. She's been quick the whole way, has Ella. She won the first 2 races of the season at Alton Park and then didn't finish race 3. Then she had another win at Silverstone the next time out before a non-finish at Donington when she was leading the race. And then at Silverstone last time out she had just the 1 win, actually, across the 6 races. But Ella starting from pole again this time around. So as they line up on the grid then, Luke Reed for Wolf Motorsport alongside the Breakall Racing car of Blake Anglis, and 5-second board has been held aloft. The rev starting to rise then. The 17th round of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship about to get underway. Can Blake Anglis beat Luke Reed into that first corner? The lights go out. Let's find out. It is a good start by Anglis. Looked like Luke Reed bogged down ever so slightly, and Blake Anglis might have half a chance here to get himself ahead of the championship leader. He's got most of his car in front. He might have a full advantage, but look, already drama for Anglis. The bodywork coming loose on the front of the 84 car, and that is only going to get worse as the race goes on. He's got the lead away. Luke Reed 2nd, Davis 3rd. Callum Davis now trying to get around the outside of Luke Reed as well at the hairpin. Gets levered aside by Luke, who is not going to let him have that position without a fight. And so Callum Davis slots back into 3rd position. Colin White then battling away with Ruben Haig for 4th place. And I think Ruben Haig's going to go right around the outside. Saw Colin do that at the start of yesterday's race at that corner. And this time Ruben Haig does it back to him, then comes across to cover that inside line down into Agostini. And so Colin White stuck behind. Or is he? Tries the outside himself now at the hairpin, and that opens the door for Carl Garnett to get a bit of a run on him. In the background there, Will Rochford running wide at Agostini, but he is in the lead of the GT5 class. So Will Rochford has got himself ahead of Ella Lloyd, as I seem to recall he did in race 2 earlier on this morning. So up through Williams, down the back straight. It is, for the time being anyway, Blake Anglis who leads the way, but I am concerned about that bonnet. It looks like one of the bonnet pins hasn't been put on. And yeah, that's just it's going to act like a parachute, which will slow him down, but the main concern is that the air's going to get under it and it's going to fly off completely. It's really straining, isn't it? I don't see how that won't be a black and orange flag for Blake, which is absolute heartbreak if it is something like a bonnet pin that's not been closed properly. And that is a terrible way to lose an opportunity at a race win. Wait and see what the decision is, whether he might even choose to come into the pit lane just to get that sorted. So Luke Reed in second place, but could be sitting pretty. He might not be aware of this, though, and, well, maybe Blake Anglis getting a bit distracted by it. He drifts out a bit wide through Murray's, doesn't dive for the pit lane, so he's going to carry on anyway and hope for the best, but that's getting very loose, and the further down the straight he goes, you can only imagine the effect that's having on the aerodynamics of the car. So, through Rich's corner, down to the braking zone at Wilson, on board with Ruben Haig, 4th position for him. And all that is a very agricultural line being taken by Sean Fleming, I think that is, isn't it? No, Karim Sekat, that might have been number 10. Meanwhile, GT5s are absolutely together, and in fact Ella Lloyd slipping through there on the inside line at the hairpin. Will Rochford a bit wide, and so Lloyd finds a way past. Now what can Luke Garlick do? Can he go with her, or is he going to be stuck in third? He's going to try around the outside of Rochford at Palmer, just gets left. Well, actually Rochford really went out of his way there to make sure that he didn't squeeze Garlick across the curbs. And to the left-hander at Agostini they go. Garlick right round the outside, and does manage to make it work. So Garlick into second place, matching what Lloyd could do, but Lloyd just gradually starting to take these points out of him. That will be a little concerning for Luke, who's going to be heading into Cadwell Park next time with a reduced points lead anyway, it seems. How much reduced it will be, we'll find out in 16.5 minutes' time. Now, Blake Anglis continuing to lead the way, still not yet being shown a black and orange flag. Got, excuse me, Colin White there, trying to get back up the inside of Ruben Haig for 4th place. Unable to do it though through Brundle and Nelson. He's just settling down a little bit now. Ruben Haig, again, has been strangely absent this weekend, really. Has had that one win earlier on in the season at, well, last time out, in fact, at Silverstone. Most recent race before this weekend was his first win. Handful of podium finishes, but just not able to run with the podium runners in this one, is he? Callum Davis has been. He sits third behind Luke Reed as Blake Anglis continues on his way. The bonnet pin, the surviving bonnet pin, still working for now, keeping that car safely in the race lead, but Luke Reed sat behind him now, waiting for his chance maybe to push and go for the move. There goes Haig through the Wilson hairpin as well. Carl Garnett keeping a watching brief behind them. Now Callum Davis, can he do anything about Luke Reed? Luke Reed is in a slightly unfamiliar situation here. He's not followed a lot of cars this weekend, certainly not ones we've been racing, so he'll be feeling a few differences now in the way the car's handling. These cars produce a reasonable amount of downforce, and so running in the dirty air, you will start to lose a little bit of mid-corner grip, particularly through the high-speed stuff, and then also just your visual references are off slightly when you're behind someone. You think it'd be easy because you can just kind of copy what they do, follow their lines, but it doesn't really work like that. You will almost always go quicker when you've got a clear, unobscured view of the road ahead, which Luke Reed no longer has. The car might also start to run a little bit hotter, the engine starts running hotter, it becomes a bit less efficient, the brakes start to get warmer too when you're in that dirty air, all the hot exhaust gases getting thrown at the front of your car from the car ahead of you. All of which comes together to just make your life a little bit harder when you're following somebody. Maybe that could give Callum Davis a chance to have a go at Luke Reed for really the first time this weekend. There goes Leona Theobald, the number 8 machine, running in 7th place. Leona down through the bomb hole, having a fairly quiet race for now in 7th. Gary Wager 8th. with Sean Fleming 9th in class. There is Luke Garlick up the inside of Ella Lloyd, this for the GT5 lead. The next corner's a right-hander though, and Ella just manages to stand her ground. But we've got a rerun now basically of the battle that we had for the majority of race 2, with 4 of them latched together at the front of the GT5 field. Ella Lloyd, Luke Garlick, Will Rochford and Sam Harvey. Some sort of drama between Luke Garlick and Sam Harvey in the race previous today, which did... Oh, that is Ruben Haig off at Riches. So Ruben Haig's gone well off the road at the first corner and bounces his way back on track. How did he get there then? He was about 2.5 tenths ahead of Colin White at the line. By the time they got to the first corner, he wasn't, and he, well, just tried to stay out of the way. There was no contact there. He tried to leave Colin the space, got on the dirty side of the road, and off he went. We've seen so many people doing that today. You try and leave the space for the car on the inside, but you end up losing grip yourself and going off the road. So that's something drivers need to watch out for. So that's unfortunately taken him out of this group, but Colin White's already latched onto the back of this leading trio, so White's got some serious pace. In fact, he just set the fastest lap of the race before that, 2 minutes 0.9, half a second quicker than the race leader Blake Anglis. So the top 4 getting themselves together now, as they are in the GT5s, where Luke Garlick is forcing Ella Lloyd to defend into Agostini, but Ella, having none of that, covers the inside, drifts a little wide on the exit. Luke Garlick will have slightly more momentum down this short straight into Hamilton, but it's too short to do anything with, really. Can't get to the inside. Hamilton instead tries to set himself up maybe for a lunge of doggies, looks to the inside, Lloyd covers, and manages for now to stay in front, but you can't help but feel that Ella is a bit of a sitting duck now down this back straight, punching the hole in the air for everybody else to benefit from. So down the back straight again, there is the GT5 lead pack. Here is the GTP lead pack, and that gap's coming down even further now between first and second. Colin White very much a part of this battle now, might be about to set another new fastest lap. He went purple in sector 2, 2:01.3 in the end, but still quicker than most of the cars around him. He looks up the inside of Callum Davis, tries to scare him onto the dirty side of the road, as he did earlier on, and now Luke Reed up the inside of Blake Anglis. No, not quite. Blake gets across to cover. All of a sudden this race coming to life. Luke Reed desperately late on the brakes. Can he go right round the outside? I think he might do, and that gets him the inside for Palmer. That was a spectacular bit of driving from Luke Reed, and in fairness, Blake Anglis left him the space to do it as well. Didn't overdrive, didn't risk clattering into the side of the championship leader, and Luke Reed hits the front again. So Reed in the lead once more. 11th victory of the season perhaps on the way to him. Blake Anglis second, Callum Davis defending busily now in third as he tries to keep Colin White behind him, which he does successfully for now. Although Colin coming back at him down the straight towards Hamilton. If they keep battling, Carl Garnett will join the party as well. Colin wants to get this move done quickly though, A, because he can see the leader starting to get away, and B, because he's arrived with some momentum, and what you don't want to happen in that situation if you're Colin White is that you're gaining a chunk of time, a lap on the car ahead, and then you catch them and kind of get stuck there for a couple of laps. You lose that momentum, that impetus that you had, and it can then be that you never do find a way past them. Luke Garlick struggling to find a way past Ella Lloyd as well. Sat behind her for a little while now and just hasn't been able to make that decisive overtake. Rochford and Harvey right behind them. They've got Bal Sidhu right behind them. Bal, who's used to racing against these drivers in a G40, making the move up into the 56 this weekend and enjoying himself, I think, but off the pace in this one after his grassy excursion earlier on, and perhaps just not wanting to really join in this battle too much. He will understand, as a former G40 racer, the significance that these battles have and how much of a hindrance it can be when a car from a quicker class starts to get involved. Now Luke Garlick selling the dummy here against Ella Lloyd. Made her think that he was going to the outside, so she left the door open on the inside, but he can't commit to it. Lloyd is very strong under braking. And Ella, I think the 71 car behind for now. Again, not hearing too much about track limits warnings in this one, which is good news. Through Coram into the final turn at Murray's, and Luke Garlick's car twitching away behind Ella Lloyd as they head down the pit straight again. So To the timing line they go. This is Colin White still trying to get past Callum Davis. Is there a gap on the inside? Not quite. And Callum was always going to close that door, so Colin did the right thing in not committing to the move. Almost certainly ended in some contact. Out of Hamilton again, and Davis seems vulnerable in certain parts of the circuit, but then elsewhere able to just pull a car length or so over Colin. Welcome return to Ginetta Racing recently to Colin after that big crash at Thruxton last year. To see him back racing in the Ginetta paddock. Now, Balsidu's in the pit lane, so perhaps he wasn't voluntarily staying out of that battle. Maybe he had no choice in the matter because there was a problem of some description. Because Blake Angliss, that bodywork with the bonnet still flapping loose in the wind. I really am surprised he's not been called in, but I'm glad he's not because it's been a good battle between himself and Luke Reed. I do now think that Luke is probably going to be able to keep control of this race, although it's not a big lead that he's built up over the last lap or so. The GT5s, Ella Lloyd, 40 points adrift of Luke Garlick. You get 35 for a race win, plus a bonus point for the fastest lap, which in that class at the moment, let's have a look, is held, I believe, by Luke Garlick. No, it's actually held by Sam Harvey. Sam Harvey did a 2:09.9 earlier on in the race, so he's got the bonus point for the fastest lap. Luke Garlick, though, wants the points for a race win. He's up the inside again at Brundle, and that's the outside for Nelson. We've seen this show before. Ella Lloyd stays in front. Down through the corner they go. Out of the window I can see a marshal preparing a black and white flag. I haven't yet seen any notification on the timing screen as to who that's for. There's a board with a number on it being held aloft, but it's facing away from me, so I think it might be one of these cars being warned about track limits, because that's the next group of cars to come through. It does appear that the marshals are waiting for them to get here. So across the line they go, and Ella Lloyd leads, Luke Garlick second, Will Rochford third, Sam Harvey fourth. They flash by quicker than you can say them. Lloyd defending resolutely now from Luke Garlick, but in fairness, not over at defending. She moves to the inside when he's really close. Doesn't sort of just drive around the inside of the track, which would really hold everybody up and really frustrate Luke Garlick behind her. This may be the part of the track where Luke is really able to turn the screws, gets a run down the hill, and Ella Lloyd is going to defend that inside line. Just there she covered, but now if she gets a good exit from the corner, she shouldn't need to defend any further around the next couple of corners. Getting a report, by the way, that black and white warning flag is for cars 42 and 95. 42 Will Rochford, 95 Callum Davis. Davis, of course, was given that 5-second penalty earlier on. Cuban Lucas for that bit of information, so it's just a warning at the moment for those two. But, and now number 66, we're being told, Sean Fleming, also being added to that list, so they're just warnings for now, not a penalty, but do it again, 5 seconds get added to your race time. Now Ella Lloyd, which way does she go? Luke Garlick commits fully this time to the inside, but Ella just carries the speed through Brundle so nicely. That inside line, it's tempting to go to the inside, but it's a much slower way through the corner, so Ella not able to, Luke not able to complete the manoeuvre. He's looking up the inside at Coram, no, just not close enough. But a bit of desperation creeping in now for Luke Garlick. Knows he's running out of opportunities, and well, he doesn't want Ella Lloyd to claim 3 wins from 3. Nothing personal, but he doesn't want to take the points away from him, but also there's a certain confidence that I think that would give Ella if she were able to get the 3rd victory here. Has anyone actually done that yet this year in the GT5 Challenge? Won all 3 races in a weekend? I don't think, well, we've had 2 triple headers. No one has managed to do a clean sweep, whether it be 2 or 3 races in a weekend. No one's actually been able to win the entire weekend, and all Luke Garlick got alongside, but now leaves the door open for Will Rochford. Rochford's got the inside line through Wilson, outside for Palmer's. I think there was a bit of contact there, wasn't there? You can see the witness marks on the front of Rochford's car. He's punched the headlight in slightly as well. But Luke stays ahead. So Luke Garlick now perhaps more preoccupied with defending second than attacking for the race lead, at least temporarily. We'll see whether that continues to be the case through the rest of this lap. 4 minutes to go. Where are the overall leads? So they're just coming to the line now, so they're going to have time for 2 more laps, so 2.5 more laps for the GT5s. Here come the top 2. I mean, Blake Anglis has not been dropped by Luke Reed, it must be said. He's only half a second back, in fact gained a couple of tenths on the race leader that time. So Blake Anglis then not giving up hope. That front, that bonnet coming loose, a bit of a distraction, I'm sure, but not slowing him down too much. Now he's in the slipstream, of course. That will negate some of that aerodynamic deficit he might have been feeling. Callum Davis bouncing across the grass in the background there. Garlick now moving up to challenge him. Now remember, Davis was being warned about track limits. That's one of the drivers who were being shown the black and white warning flag a while ago. He's just run wide again out of Wilson. He's now defending very heavily down into Agostini. And to the outside goes Carl Garnett. Can't find the grip though on that very dirty side of the road because it's so dry, so dusty here at Snetterton. Car goes off the road, it just kicks up the dust, it lands on the track, and of course the racing line gets swept clean as the cars use it more often, but offline it becomes more like a rally stage, and there are certain parts of this track where I really wouldn't fancy being offline. Makes it easy to lose control, but also difficult to make a pass if someone's defending the inside. You really can't go around the outside of them. It's all going to play into the hands, amongst others, of Luke Reed, because Blake Anglis is going to have a go at this, I think, if he gets close enough, but going to have limited options as we go on to that final lap of the race. Callum Davis and Carl Garnett in kind of a similar situation. Colin White, strangely for Colin White, having a very quiet race so far. He's not really been involved in too many shenanigans beyond the first lap. Moved up to 3rd position. Now Luke Reed's got Karim Sekat ahead. Karim didn't exactly jump out of the way of the overall race leader, but they do safely negotiate him. The lead gap, I think, creeping up again now as they head into Riches. 1 more lap to go. Blake Anglis might have to now settle for 2nd place, I think, but it's been a splendid effort, the closest anyone's been for a while to beating Luke Reed. Certainly this weekend he's been back to his formidable best, but will he be able to do the same at the final few rounds of the championship? He's built up now over a 100-point cushion over Callum Davis before we start looking into drop scores, though, that is. So he will be dropping on the start, hasn't he? But then he'll be dropping more points than Callum Davis, who's had a couple of not so great results. Oh, now this for the GT5s. Oh, and Luke Garlick's done it. He's gone through, finally. So Luke Garlick, after trying for the entire race, seemingly, to get past Ella Lloyd, has finally been able to make a move stick down at the end of that Bentley straight, and now might be able to deny Ella the opportunity to finish the hat-trick. But Ella now might be in a better position for the final lap. She's going to have that tow, that slipstream around the final tour, which for the GT5s is only just beginning now. For the GTPs, they're more than halfway round it already. Out onto the Bentley straight goes Luke Reed, and he's kept Blake Anglis at bay ever since he got into the lead of the race. Blake led early on, but once Luke Reed got in front, he's managed the situation well. Blake Anglis sticking with him, but hasn't ever really been able to show a nose. Not a single mistake for Luke Reed under quite impressive pressure throughout the entire race. And as it turns now towards the right-hander, long right-hander at Coram Corner, Luke Reed is going to be a race winner again in the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship. And win number 11 is going to taste particularly sweet because it is, for Luke Reed, going to be a hat-trick. It is the 3rd time this season that he swept the race wins over a race meeting. Did it at Alton Park, does it again at Snetterton. Victory for Luke Reed, 2nd for Blake Anglis. Wolf Motorsport extremely happy with that. I think they were sweating a little bit there towards the end as Blake Anglis closed back into within 0.4 of a second. Colin White rounds out the podium finishes, but now we can turn our attention once again to the GT5s, and we're picking them up at the perfect point on the lap, because this is where Ella Lloyd is going to start closing in and trying to plan a move down that back straight, use the slipstream, get alongside into Brundle, and in theory move ahead of Luke Garlick just as he did to her a lap ago. Not convinced she's quite close enough though. Luke Garlick using all the track limits there on the exit of Williams and starting to weave around down the straight, trying to break that toe. Not really supposed to do that, but it doesn't always get punished. He might get away with it. Down into the braking zone, Lloyd shows her nose, but actually more to try and cover from Rochford, who had closed right in. Ella carries so much speed through Brundle, though. She's really good at that part of the circuit, and is there a gap into the bomb hole? Not really. Luke Garlick stays in front. One more overtaking opportunity to go, and I don't think Ella's going to want to throw absolutely everything at this. It's not worth contact that could lead to a non-finish or a penalty. Second place is still some good points. She's still made a net gain over the weekend. She would have loved to have taken the hat-trick of race victories, but Luke Garlick, I think, is going to prevent that from happening. Through Murray's they come, out to the timing line again, and it has been another fantastic race in the GT5 class this weekend. They've really been on top form. Hope that that continues through the rest of the season. Across the line they go. Luke Garlick wins in the GT5 class. Second place goes to Ella Lloyd. Third, Will Rochford. And fourth for Sam Harvey. So, Zentek Motorsport managed to get a 1-2 finish again. A 1-2-4 that time, because Sam Harvey, the other Zentek driver, not quite on the podium. Sam has been off the podium in all the races this weekend, which is a shame, because he's been very quick, but just hasn't really been able to get us stuck into the races as he might have liked.
There are the G40s.
So, the race overall, and within the GTP class, won by Luke Reed, and Luke waving to the crowd, waving to the spectators. Happy, I'm sure, to have claimed that 11th victory of the season. Blake Anglis second, Colin White in third. Then it was Callum Davis and Carl Garnett completing the top 5 ahead of Ruben Haig, Leona Theobald, Gary Wager, Sean Fleming, and then Luke Garlick in 10th position, winning the GT5 class. Ella Lloyd second after their brilliant race-long battle. Will Rochford in third. Sam Harvey completing the top 4, Karim Sekar was a lap down in 5th, and Balsidou retired to the pit lane after a grassy moment in the early stages. So, cars will make their way back towards Parc Ferme. Let's quickly remind ourselves of some of the action in the 17th round of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship that saw Blake Anglis lead at the start. From the outside of row 1, he hit the front into Rich's corner, but immediately there was drama, a bonnet pin seemingly coming loose, and the front bodywork started to flap in the wind. He did have the lead though, and Luke Reed briefly had to then defend Callum Davis for second place. Callum tried the outside down into the Wilson hairpin, but Luke Reed wasn't going to allow him through and managed to stay in second position. Further behind, the GT5 battle was as intense as ever. Will Rochford and Ella Lloyd getting close to each other coming out of Wilson as Ella moved back into the lead that Rochford had actually stolen away at the start of the race. Luke Garlick would then follow her through into second in the class. The two championship antagonists would do battle. Ruben Haig on the outside of Colin White through Riches, ran wide on the dirty side of the road and slipped off the track, whilst Luke Reed found plenty of grip on the outside at the very same sequence of corners to move ahead of Blake Anglis with a sensational overtake down at the Wilson hairpin. From then, much of the attention was focused on the GT5s, where Luke Garlick tried to get past Ella Lloyd, eventually making the move stick with only a couple of laps to go. Ella threw everything at him then over the closing stages, but just wasn't quite able to get through, and so the championship leader was, for the first time this weekend, able to extend his points margin. 3 out of 3 for Luke Reed, though, the second time he's done that this season, an even more dominant championship leader now as the championship heads to Cadwell Park.